Have you ever had that feeling like your life isn't quite yours? Not because of some big external thing, but because you feel tied up by this invisible chain, almost like a phantom duty.
hmm
Think about your time, your energy, even your money just constantly being drained or guided by this one huge imperative. You just cannot let people down, ever.
Yeah, that feeling, that's pretty much the definition of chronic obligation. It's this systemic pattern of overcompliance. It ties us to almost anyone who expresses even a tiny desire for our attention or time.
Right.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into the psychology behind this, explore where it comes from, and maybe most importantly, look at how to start breaking free.
And the cost. I mean, when you look at the real cost of always complying, the sources we looked at paint a really sobering picture. Kind of cruel, actually.
Yeah.
They have this hypothetical gravestone inscription for someone stuck in this pattern. Got here a lot earlier out of an inability to say no. Oof.
That phrase really hits hard, doesn't it?
It does.
Because it captures the life you lose. A life maybe cut short by stress, definitely worn down by resentment you can't even express.
So our mission here is to unpack how we get this way. Why does it feel so vital emotionally to keep doing it?
Yeah.
And how do we start learning what the sources call the foreign language of honesty?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's make this concrete. What does this sort of manic obligation actually look like, in the day-to-day stuff? Because it's way more subtle than just, say, agreeing to a boring work thing.
Oh, it's deeply systemic.
Yeah.
Think about maybe someone you actively dislike, but you had supper with them once, maybe years ago,
Right.
and now you accept every single invitation after that, maybe 20 times. Or you lend money to people you really don't trust. You stay way too late at parties that just suck the life out of you.
Or ending up on a whole holiday with people you have, like, nothing in common with.
Exactly. Just because they were enthusiastic and you couldn't bear to, pop their balloon.
Wow. It sounds like a total loss of internal control. Like the outside world just dictates everything. Even, as the source mentioned, a dog wanting you to keep throwing a ball.
Absolutely. It's like the universe is constantly making demands,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And if you're wired this way, you just feel compelled to meet them, no matter the personal cost.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where it gets really tricky psychologically. The obligation actually gets stronger
Mm.
the kinder the relationship is,
Hmm.
or the more emotional.
Ah, okay. Because, yeah, deleting a spam email asking for money, easy. But what happens when actual affection is involved? How does kindness turn into this weapon we use against ourselves?
That is the absolute core trap. Say you start having doubts about a partner, serious doubts, but then they excitedly bring up moving in, or maybe even getting married.
Oh, boy.
The chronic obliger. They just freeze, they smile bravely, nod along. The internal voice just instantly overrides that gut feeling. It says something like, who am I to disagree? Or
Yeah.
how can I possibly turn away this enthusiasm?
Right. They seem so happy about it.
Exactly. Even as the source material vividly puts it, you feel deeply uncomfortable, even intermittently somewhat nauseous.
That nauseous feeling, that your body literally protesting, isn't it? It's a physical sign against the psychological self-betrayal.
It really is. It's like the internal scream you're swallowing down. So, okay, if that's the symptom, we have to look deeper, right? At the cause.
Yeah.
If we connect the dots, look at the bigger picture. This isn't just some random quirk. There usually tends to be a very specific history behind these overwhelming feelings.
Right. If you dig into the past of people who struggle with this chronic obligation, there's often a common thread, a kind of psychological injury.
That's what the research suggests. A history where the key people, usually parents, caregivers, were just fundamentally unable or uninterested in the child's actual sincere needs.
So the child learns really fast that their feelings about, I don't know, school or a friend or even like a strange pain in the tummy, none of it mattered if the big important person had their own stuff going on.
Precisely. Their feelings were basically irrelevant. The child learns they have to tread incredibly carefully. Don't do anything that might trigger anger or maybe a bout of self-pity from the caregiver.
So survival meant making yourself small, invisible almost.
Exactly. The world feels like a minefield, and your own honest feelings, they feel like the biggest landmines. So you start making these small, but really significant sacrifices.
I'm not saying you need the bathroom.
Yeah. Or pretending you're having fun at the museum when you're bored stiff.
Yeah.
Or desperately wanting another piece of cake, but just staying quiet.
And each small act teaches this really toxic lesson, doesn't it? Your needs are dangerous. Suppress them.
It builds up, which leads to this powerful kind of circular diagnosis. A manic sense of obligation is the logical consequence of key people's historic lack of obligation towards us.
Wow. So we learned to put ourselves last because back then, our emotional, maybe even physical survival depended on managing their needs first.
It was absolutely a survival strategy in childhood. But then in adulthood, it morphs into this huge emotional liability. It corrodes relationships, self-worth.
Yeah.
It's this deep, tangled knot we've tied ourselves in.
Okay, so if this is something we learned, an acquired illness like a knot, how on earth do we even start to untie it? It feels like learning a whole new language. We're fluent in fear, maybe, but we need
Yeah.
to learn respect for ourselves.
We really do. And the very first step, as you said, is taking the feeling seriously,
Huh.
recognizing that this level of compliance, this intense pitch, is an illness. It's not just being nice.
We're not a personality trait.
No. And then, yes, we need to learn what the sources call the foreign language of honesty. And it feels foreign, genuinely foreign, because honesty feels terrifying when your whole life you've been conditioned to think your truth causes damage or upset.
So what does that new language even sound like? Internally, I mean. Before you even try to say it out loud,
Yeah.
because we're so used to instantly filtering everything through how will this affect them.
Internally, it starts with just asserting your own reality. It might sound something like this. I don't want to be with this person anymore. Full stop. Then maybe add, even though we had some nice times.
Ah, the even though is key, isn't it? The old way says, because we had nice times, I owe them forever.
Exactly. The new language acknowledges the past. Sure, you can be grateful for it, but it doesn't get to dictate your future. Or maybe it sounds like, I don't need to give them what they want,
Oh, that's a big one.
even if they tell me they adore me.
Wow. That completely reframes responsibility, doesn't it? It means you're not obligated to manage someone else's feelings just because they express affection for you.
It's huge. It's that moment maybe of discovering you actually have a backbone. You suddenly see that what you thought was being nice was actually just compliance,
Yeah.
fear-based compliance.
Right.
And the second you feel that backbone, you realize there's a new obligation, a primary one, an obligation to yourself, not just to the first person who happens to find you useful or convenient.
Okay, but that transition sounds terrifying because our gut reaction, our wiring screams catastrophe. We expect the person we disappoint today to react just like, I don't know, our fragile father or that easily angered mother from the past.
That projection is the critical hurdle. We brace for impact. We assume everyone we say no to will either explode in rage or crumble into some kind of manipulative guilt trip.
Yeah.
But here's the really interesting thing. The actual consequence of disappointing most reasonably mature adults, it's almost never what we dread.
Really? Why is it so different from what we expect?
Well, because the person standing in front of you today usually isn't that caregiver from your childhood. Most adults, honestly. They can handle a no. They might be a bit disappointed for a moment, sure, but they recover. Sometimes they even respect you more for the clarity.
Huh. So the fear is like a historical echo, not an accurate forecast.
Precisely. It's a reflex based on past danger, not present reality.
Okay, so that means we don't have to be stuck in that awful choice between, being a doormat, meek compliance, or eventually snapping in volcanic fury. There has to be another way, a third option.
There absolutely is. And the goal isn't to become aggressive or uncaring. It's about establishing boundaries kindly, but also unambiguously.
Yeah.
The aim is to be simultaneously civil and firm. Polite, yes, but also definitive.
That sounds like where practice comes in, like actually having some words ready, rehearsing this new dialect until it feels a bit more natural.
Absolutely. Having some scripts can be incredibly helpful, especially at first. The language needs to signal closure, not leave the door open for negotiation or guilt.
Okay, give us an example, say, for a health boundary, or just needing space.
Right. You could try something that uses definitive empathy, like,
Good.
I would have loved to see you, but honestly, my health isn't great right now. Let me be the one to get back in touch when I'm really feeling up for it.
Let me be the one to get back in touch. That puts the ball firmly back in your court. It's warm, but it closes that loop. Okay, what about a more general refusal? Declining an offer without going into lots of detail.
For that, you could go for something polished but final. Thank you so much for your kind offer. I'd have loved to take you up on this, but unfortunately, circumstances make it impossible right now. Forgive me.
Polite expresses appreciation, but impossible and forgive me signals it's not up for debate. Okay, the really hard one. Ending a relationship. Kindly, but firmly, before you let resentment build for years.
Yeah, that requires acknowledging the good while still being definitive. Maybe something like, You're truly an exceptional person, and I've genuinely enjoyed our time together. But after thinking very deeply about it, I realize I'm not ready to continue this.
Again, acknowledging the positive, exceptional person, enjoyed our time, but the not ready to continue is clear and final. These aren't about manipulation, are they? They're tools. Tools to help your outside match your inside.
Exactly, to align your actions with your sincere needs. But, and this is crucial, the real work often starts after you use the script. When that wave of guilt washes over you,
Right. That horrible, familiar guilt.
that guilt is actually a signal. It means you're challenging the old conditioning. The part of you that relied on compliance to feel safe is panicking.
So you have to see the guilt not as a sign you did something wrong, but maybe as proof you're doing something right. For yourself, finally.
Precisely. You have to learn to sort of love yourself through that panic and hold a boundary anyway. It gets easier, but it takes practice.
So if someone puts in all this incredibly hard work, learning this new language, facing the fear, tolerating the guilt, what's the ultimate sign of progress? How do you know you're getting there? It raises a big question.
Yeah, it does. And the progress isn't just about saying no more often, though that's part of it. It's measured by a really profound internal shift, a shift in your core values, almost. The ultimate goal, according to the sources, is reached when we finally learn to love being kind to ourselves more than we fear momentarily frustrating other people, even people we might not particularly like.
Wow. Love being kind to ourselves more than we fear frustrating others. That completely shifts the center of gravity, doesn't it? From seeking external approval to finding internal integrity.
Well, Volgans.
That really is the ultimate act of self-kindness. So maybe, for everyone listening, just consider for a moment, what would it actually feel like to replace just one of those fear-based yeses this week with a single, authentic, kind but firm no? A no based purely on being kind to yourself. When was the last time you really listened to that quiet internal voice, that little ache, that need for space, and actually prioritized it over someone else's expectation, however small? Maybe just asking that question honestly is the real start of finding that self-respect.